What about my sweat equity?
Sweat equity. Sweat equity.
My sweat equity. My sweat equity.
Sweat equity.
What about my sweat equity?
So we just got in the habit of asking the guests to throw their plugs out there at the beginning. You have your podcast, Underground Reach. Is there anything else people can find you on? Social, websites, anything?
Yeah, man. I mean, really the only thing I like to plug is my podcast because I'm not really big on social media, you know what I mean? But the one that I would say I do, try to regularly post on is Instagram. That's at TJ Bradfield.
Okay. And so you've got an interesting story. I guess a drug addicted alcoholic, to kind of self-improvement business kind of advisor. What would you call yourself?
Well, actually, right now I'm actually working with people to help them with their podcasts and stuff like that, to help them grow them, launch them, stuff like that. Yeah, that's pretty much all I'm doing. My podcast, though, is all about just kind of sharing my experience in helping my audience, smash any limiting beliefs that they may have and stuff like that, so they can get out of their comfort zone and get out there and go and find what it is they want to do with their life,
And so you felt like you have kind of a good perspective on this, going from it sounds like the lowest of low to figuring it out.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, man. So I had my first drink, when I was like 12 years old. And from there, it was pretty much just downhill. You know what I mean? I fell in love with it immediately, unfortunately. And 15, I started drinking more, frequently. It was like every weekend kind of a thing. And then it was whenever I had the money. And then it was, if I had the money, it was every day. You know what I mean? And then that eventually led into, hard drugs and stuff like that. Just hanging around with the wrong people, eventually got into street gangs at one point. And then I, had the blessing of meeting, who is now still my life partner back when we met when I was 15, but didn't officially get together till we were 18. And she took me away from all of that. And long story short, I got clean eventually after going to jail for 3 months and missing the birth of my daughter. And yeah, man. So
You didn't miss much. It's not that exciting.
It is kind of
Pretty
boring.
gross.
Kind of
No,
boring.
you can't. Yeah. It's a lot of waiting around.
Yeah.
And you can't really do anything as a guy, and you feel helpless. So, just trying to play Mr. Brightside.
Sure.
Wait, I don't want to just skim over that whole timeline from 12 years old to where were we at in your timeline?
18 is when I, got away from the drugs and the alcohol and stuff like that. So I moved to my old lady's hometown, which was about 6 hours away from where I was living at the time. But I couldn't really kick the drug habit. You know what I mean? Like, I did my best, but I was just kind of replacing it with other things. So then when we moved back to my hometown, I ended up getting back into it. And then that's when I, got arrested, because I was actually on the most wanted list of my hometown, for drug related stuff. And landed myself in jail just for like 3 months. It was nothing crazy. I was fortunate enough to not, like some people landed myself in prison or anything like that. But yeah, and that was ultimately what got me sober, was missing the birth of my daughter, even though it was a very short period of time. Just looking at her newborn baby face and her just not knowing who the hell I am. You know what I mean? That's ultimately what got me sober from the drugs. But the alcohol, sort of continued after, just not as bad, but, it just progressively started getting worse over the years. And then, 2020 hit, because everything was fairly normal from getting out of jail till about 2020. Like, the drinking was there, but it wasn't like a huge problem. You know what I mean? But then 2020 came. Obviously, we couldn't go anywhere, couldn't do anything. You know what I mean? So I was playing a lot of video games and stuff. And then the end of 2020, my best friend actually passed away from drinking. And then about 30 days later, my older brother passed away from a fentanyl overdose.
Jeez.
Oh,
Yeah, so then that's kind of where everything went really downhill, and that was probably the darkest time of my life. Like even worse than the drugs, man. And that's when I really started drinking every single day, man. And it was, yeah, it was pretty bad, man. It was pretty much life or death for me, man.
Yeah, it sounds that way. And kids will make you step up your game in a weird way, or it's kind of fight or flight. I feel like for a lot of guys, like a
Absolutely.
lot of guys in your scenario, they probably peace out. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
it's good that you stuck around and had that as a motivation.
what kind of what was the drug problem that we're talking about here?
Like specific drug?
Yeah, or is it
Uh,
all of them? Just whatever's in front of you?
Well, I mean, the main one was crystal meth, but then eventually it was just whatever I could get my
Yeah.
hands on at some point. You know what I mean? And
Yeah, that one kind of checks all the boxes. Yeah,
Yeah. Did you?
that's where. Yeah.
Was this? A lot of people, believe that alcoholism is kind of hereditary in a lot of ways. Did you come from a family that dealt with this issue a lot?
yeah, man. See, like that's the thing is like in my family it was normal, unfortunately. You know what I mean? Like obviously not having a big, drinking problem was normal, but it was everybody like drank, you know what I mean? Like at family gatherings and stuff like that, everybody had a beer in their hand, you know what I mean? So it was fairly normal in my family growing up. So yeah, like I have had other family members, including my father who I've only met I think once or twice, who have had, big, drinking problems and drug problems and stuff like that.
How did you get sober?
From the alcohol, man, it was actually Christmas of 2021. Yeah, because it's just over a year now. Um, this memory, man, it'll haunt me forever, man. But Christmas of 2021, I was completely wasted, and just the memory of it, like just remembering helping my kids trying to open their gifts and put toys together, and I'm completely wasted. You know what I mean? And like after that, like obviously they don't know what's going on. You know what I mean? To them, it was probably normal, but the next day, I sobered up. I was hungover and feeling sorry for myself and all that, and just remembering that. And I was just like, man, like what the hell has my life come to? Like, what am I doing, man? And like, honestly, it was such a low point for me where it was I'm either gonna get sober now or my kids aren't gonna have a dad because I'm not letting my kids grow up with a dad that just drinks and like all the time and is like a raging alcoholic. You know what I mean? So that's what I meant when I said it was life or death for me. So. And I grew up, like I said, I grew up with no father, so I know what that's like, and I do not want that for my kids. So I made the decision May 3rd. It was a little bit after Christmas, but anyways, I messed up the timeline. But anyways, after Christmas, I made the decision, I'm sobering up, and if I'm not successful with this, then that's it. And I've been successful with it, so that's
So you got
Congratulations, that's
Yeah.
awesome, man.
you got
Thank
over
you.
a year sober. Are you doing program?
Nah, man, that's the thing is I tried to do the AA thing in the past because I've been trying to get sober for like 15 years, man. And the AA thing,
Can we ask how old you
I
are?
was gonna say
You
can be.
at the time. I'm just trying to put it all together. And
You could be
I'm curious,
22
right?
or
If you said you
57.
were 22, I believe.
No, no.
yeah, I'm
Right.
28, man. I'm 28.
Okay,
Okay, that's what I
Okay.
thought.
that was killing me
Totally.
too.
Yeah, but yeah, the AA thing, Alcoholics Anonymous, NA, it just wasn't for me, man. Like I just didn't feel like the first step, they say to give away your power or something. I can't remember what it was, but I was just like, no, like what the hell? So like I just didn't agree with it, you know what I mean? So when I officially became sober the last time I tried, it was just pure just will to just do better
Right.
for my kids, man.
What's coming from you, like AA is not the only answer. For
Yeah,
sure.
definitely.
Like, it works for a small percentage of people, but most people think, it's not going to last. It always comes from within.
We
Yeah,
admit it.
like
We admit we're powerless over alcohol. That our lives have
Yeah.
become unmanageable.
Yeah, see, like the powerless thing, like in my opinion, if you're gonna become sober, like you need to have that power within yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like I don't have anything against AA or NA. You know what I mean? Like it works for some people, but it just was not for me. So
So
yeah,
how do you,
that statement that's a lot. That's a lot of admittance.
well, how do you keep yourself regulated? Because part of the thing with AA, is having that routine and like that place you're going every week to talk to people about what's going on. Is the podcast you're doing kind of a little bit that way? Because we've talked about it on this show. We haven't had major drug issues or booze issues, but we have said like this podcast was the only consistent thing when both of our lives respectively were going to shit at different times. Is that what you're finding through your podcast?
Yeah, most definitely, man. That's actually part of the reason why I started doing it, was because I just wanted, to have something that no matter what, I just had to be there for. You know what I mean? And like, because at the end of the day, like if I thought about starting it, but I didn't, nobody would ever know. You know what I mean? Only I would know. But if I'm, if I'm actually have people listening to me and saying, damn, this dude's actually doing pretty good, and then I fall off the wagon, you know what I mean? Like, and yes, like the reason why I do it is because as humans, the way our brains work is we're just naturally selfish. You know what I mean? So like we always have that need to where we need to, for lack of a better term, like just look good in front of people, for lack of a better term, And so that's kind of why I did it, man. Just kind of using that little bit of psychology and stuff to just, just keep myself sober, keep myself busy, and at the same time helping people, because that's also what they say in AA is, what keeps you sober is help keeping other people sober. You know what I mean? So like, and I don't talk a lot about, like drugs and stuff like that, but I do make sure that it's known, to new listeners and stuff, and just kind of show them where I'm going now and how they can get to where I'm at,
One of those things that one person hears it, maybe one person from our podcast, it's worth it.
Absolutely, man.
Since May, what was it, 2021? What has your life been like? Have you had that? I always find it interesting, my friends that get sober, they have that realization with all the feelings. They're feeling all the feelings.
Yeah.
The drying out process of just like, I can't just time travel this feeling away.
Yeah.
Man.
So can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, it's been pretty brutal, man. Cause I forgot to mention, but back in 2020, before my friend and my brother passing away, I actually got back into drugs for like a week or two, overdosed, went to the hospital and like almost died from it. But after that, I had just extremely bad anxiety, man. Like I used to always think I was having a heart attack, and you know what I mean, and just like freaking out all the time. And but yeah, when I got sober, that was my biggest fear, man, was actually feeling everything for the first time in pretty much since I was 15 years old, man. And it was pretty damn brutal, but because like I told myself, man, like once I get sober, you know what I mean, like I made the commitment, like, hey, now it's time to just try to become the best version of myself, but first I gave myself a 30-day period to just kind of get used to it, you know what I mean, and just get a feel for not being, under the influence of anything, what feels like for the first time in my life, So at first, yeah, it was pretty terrifying, man. Like my anxiety was through the roof, and I was angry. I was pretty angry. Like it was just like I was snapping at the like the smallest things, and like getting emotional at the smallest thing. You know what I mean? I felt like I don't know, like I just took some kind of hormone pill or something. You know what I mean? And I was emotional. I was angry. I was happy. I was, you know what I mean? It's like an emotional roller coaster. But eventually I kind of got used to it, man. And then I just started like, I wanted to start working out and going to the gym and all that. But when I tried that in the past, but because I'm so, overweight or whatever, I need to start smaller because my feet were like so bad I could barely walk. So I just go for walks every day, man, 45 minutes first thing in the morning. At first it was for exercise, but now it's more just for mental health, man. And that's ultimately what keeps me grounded and keeps me sane, really.
Awesome. I endorse it.
Yeah. I'm the same way. I kind of have to work out or get like mild depression.
Sure.
Wait, so you were overweight? You're the rare guy doing meth that was overweight, or is that
Actually, Actually, all this weight came from 2020, man. Just like I said, I was playing video games, drinking, and I gained like.
This isn't a comedy show. I mean, I'm trying to throw some humor in there. But all right, so you had the kind of thing with the pandemic, the lockdown. That's the biggest concern a lot of people had is, the devil makes work for idle hands kind of thing. And like,
That's insane.
yeah. And you can
I
look,
remember it the other day.
and a lot of people went two ways. I mean, it could everybody could kind of deteriorate and kind of not,
You're either growing or you're going the other way.
Yeah. Right. Or you were trying to
maintaining.
You were trying to figure out how to make like a dumbbell with five gallon buckets at Lowe's and putting concrete in it. Like there was a commercial for it. There was a lot of people that just looked around their house and were like, I'm going to fix this shit up. Or they looked around and was like, I hate
I'm
this.
going to burn this place to the ground.
And it sounded like you had anxiety about having anxiety of being sober, like a pre-dread of sorts. But you kind of buried the lead. Can you tell us the story of overdosing?
Yeah, man. That actually started. It started a little bit before the pandemic started, and then, I was like, yeah, I'm never doing that again. Screw that. I've been down that road already. I don't want to go there again. And then the pandemic hit, and then I was like, damn. And like you said, man, what was it? The idle hands make for the devil's playground, or something like that.
That's another way of saying it.
Yeah. So then, like, I think I just got extremely bored, man, and just. I live in a new city now, man, and I don't know anybody here, but there was one person here from my past who was around for a little while and started doing it again with him. And plus I was drinking too, man. And like when I used to drink back then, like I would just get so depressed, like for no reason. So then one night I was like, screw it, man, let's go get high or whatever. And then started smoking, crack and stuff. And then we ran out of that. So then we went and found meth, and I was like, fuck it, let's smoke that. And then I don't know, later that night, like my chest was just feeling weird, man. And like I just felt like I couldn't stop moving, or my heart was gonna stop. But if I move too much, it'll explode, kind of a thing. It was really weird. And then like I was just out of it, man. And then so I went to my sister's house, man. I was down in the basement, and then there wasn't any pain, but for some reason, like I just kept freaking out about my heart, even though there was no pain. I don't know. It was really weird. So I called They called an ambulance. And then they took me there, and then they're like, what did you take, man? Tell us everything you took. And like, it was weird because I was kind of able to remember everything that I was taking. And I told them how much I smoked and like, you know what I mean? Just kind of the best I could. And then they were doing tests and stuff, and they came back in there and like, stop lying to us, man. Tell us how much you took. And like the doctor's like freaking out, looking at my heart scan and stuff. And I was just like, am I going to die? Like, what the hell? And then I remember I was laying there looking up at the ceiling of the hospital, like those hospital lights.
Mm-hmm.
It was off, and I was kind of just looking into it because they, were pumping me with all kinds of like medicine and like other stuff. And I know all of a sudden I seen like this thing moving in the light, and then it turned around and it was like a devil face looking down at me, and then it started like laughing and shit, and I was just like, holy fuck. Like,
holy shit.
So yeah, and then I fell asleep, woke up, and went home. Or no, I went to detox first for a while, and then tried to go to rehab, but they didn't have room for me. Plus, COVID was new, so everything was shut down, and it was a bad time to get into rehab.
Yeah, that's kind of why I'm asking a little bit more, because I was wondering about that when there was a lockdown going on. And what state were you in? Like what in the United States?
I'm actually from Canada, man. I live central Canada in a province called Saskatchewan.
Oh, you're in Canada?
Yeah.
I don't hear any of it.
I do.
You do?
The kindness.
Did you say a boo?
Soothing voice.
Nice disposition, right. I guess. Yeah, and you guys were way more.
Also, there's a moose behind him.
Yeah.
We're up.
For those for those listening on audio, he's wearing a Mountie hat.
Right, and there's a moose that is. Oh, he's taking.
How many hack Canada jokes going on?
We got.
Mike Myers is there. No. So.
Hockey
is part of the. I'm to understand. So you had Canada with a lot of restrictions on COVID, even recently, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So that plays into that. Yeah, that timing of all of that is kind of crazy. And then you also deal with, someone was telling me this the other day, like being in a cold place, you're kind of in lockdown half the year or whatever.
Yeah, did you even notice the lockdown?
in a sort of way. So it's
Still have
like
to drive 5 hours to go anywhere.
so that kind of can create that kind of like, well, I got a fucking going on, you know, like, does that play into it, you think? Just being in a cold weather kind of area.
Yeah,
You know?
man. Yeah, because like, I mean, you can't really go anywhere. You know what I mean? Like, especially in the winter, like there's like 4 feet of snow right outside my door. You know what I mean? So like, yeah, man. I mean, unless I was going to a liquor store or something like that, I would probably make it. You know, but yeah, it's pretty brutal over here, especially with the restrictions, and you know, we're still kind of facing restrictions to this day a little bit, not as much, but yeah, it's kind of screwed over here.
So how remote are you? I'm thinking about access to drugs in Canada.
Oh, no,
I would imagine is hard.
Yeah, no, I'm in a fairly big city, so
Okay.
It's not too hard. There's a couple dealers down the road for me still, but
All right.
yeah.
I picture everybody in a log cabin 5 miles away from each other. I don't know.
No.
He's not in the Yukon. So what's the story now? So from about May 2021 on, what have you been
man.
up to?
Yeah, now I'm just working on, you know, getting the best guests I can for my podcast and stuff like that. I'm kind of trying to get away from the podcast coaching a little bit, because I'm going to be launching a company here pretty quick. I can't really say anything yet because I got to finalize some stuff with some partners, but yeah, so I'm going to be, you know, focusing on running my podcast and running my company, man, and just try to at the same time be the best version of myself that I can, man. That's the mission for now.
Yeah, you can be, as like Eric was saying, you can be instrumental. You don't know if you're affecting one person or a bunch of people, but the thing that's cool about podcasting is, you know, the ones I listen to continually, and part of the long game of listening to a lot of them is what the host is doing with their life.
Right, getting to know them personally in their own way.
Like Bobby Lee's a comic that I follow, and he just relapsed, and he's talking about that whole episode and how that kind of ruined a lot of stuff going on for him and how it affected everybody around him and all that stuff.
He's got crazy stories.
Well, yeah, I mean,
on drugs.
Well, he was also like molested when he was like 12, and I think that set a different course. But it's still one of the funniest comics ever on stage. But it's one of those things where I think your podcast, it sounds like you're trying to reach out. I mean, you haven't asked this on, but no big deal. You know, it looks like you're trying to get a lot of like self-improvement people, marketing, entrepreneurship on the podcast. You know, that you could be a good kind of person to follow if someone is in your same position you were a few years ago.
Yeah, that's the plan, man. Like, see, originally my podcast started because I didn't really think it through starting it. I was like, you know what, screw it, just start. You know, just jump off the cliff and grow.
That's actually the way I endorse doing it.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
figure
man,
out
definitely.
after that. That's the way to do it.
Yeah, for sure, man. So like now my main focus for guests is just anybody really who has a good story and either a type of business they teach my audience how to start, or just, you know, some tips they could give them to be, you know, the best version of themselves, or, you know, something along those lines, or just help them like smash limiting beliefs. That's the main, you know, idea for the show, man.
What are some of the things you've learned from your guests?
Oh man, I've learned a lot, man. My favorite one though is habit stacking, man, where you combine little tiny wins every single day. Like say, for example, you wake up in the morning, you make your bed. There's one win for the day. You know, just small incremental little steps that lead up to, you know, big change over time.
Yeah, that one example actually is one I've been doing the last couple of years, and I've got little kids and they absorb that and they make their bed in the morning. And I've never asked them to really do it, but
awesome.
You forget it's a thing of like, not only is that a good way to get things going in the morning, but also like, oh yeah, these two things are little sponges that follow me around and see all my behavior, whether I realize it or not.
Yep.
And
absolutely.
so, you know, that motivation, like you were saying for your daughter, I'm sure works in that way. What other tips have you gotten from your show? Habit stacking. I haven't heard that term.
Yeah, habit stacking. Man, there's lots. I kind of learned how basically to start all kinds of companies, man. Like I had a dude on there who started a company with $800, man. A fitness empire, man. Like he started off with one gym. Now to this day now, I think he has like 12. He's building his 12th one or something like that. And he started away $800, and he kind of went through the whole process, like the legal stuff, because nobody, when they're teaching business, they never talk about the legal side of things, which for some reason I was interested in me because I want to learn how to make sure I paid them taxes, But
well, you can listen to our previous episode that is not out yet, but just about that.
Yeah, we just had Scott Reeb on literally talking about all that stuff and how entrepreneurs make mistakes that way.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, we got one question for everybody that comes on the first time. What advice? I might change the number on this because we asked, what advice would you give your 13-year-old self?
Yeah, maybe not.
But I might go
Not
11
actually.
years old in your timeline.
The earliest you can remember sober. You.
What advice would you give your 11-year-old self?
The advice I would give to my 11-year-old self is to not worry about what other people think of you. Don't try to fit in with people. Just focus on yourself. Get your damn schoolwork done. And just know that as long as you focus on yourself and set goals for yourself and achieve those goals, you'll be all right. That's what I would say.
I mean, that's more or less
It's a popular one.
what we hear a lot of the
It's a
time.
good one.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on. Appreciate it. Underground Reach podcast on everywhere you find podcasts.
Yep.
Thanks for coming on, DJ.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you guys for the time, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you. See ya.
See ya.